What was the very first psychological trick you learned that blew your mind? If you ask someone to move over to an arbitrary different location to talk, could be 5 feet away, they are much more likely to listen to you and follow instructions. One of my tricks as an elementary school teacher. Police and customs officers use this on me all the damn time. Would you like to come talk to me over here? When walking through a crowd, don't look at the people in front of you. Instead look past them where you are trying to go, and most people will make room without noticing it. This is particularly good, since we've evolved to resolve where people are looking with tremendous accuracy. My understanding is that the whites in our eyes are a social evolutionary trait which facilitates this task and helps determine motivation and establish trust. Looking at people as you navigate a crowd is useful for making visual handshakes, but looking up at where you intend to go helps everyone establish their route. Talking myself to sleep. I'll think things like, my bed is so comfortable. Sleeping is so easy. I love sleeping. Sleeping is great. Instead of agonizing over why I can't sleep, positively reinforcing myself is my new lullaby, laughing my butt off. This sounds hilarious, and I'm definitely going to be trying it. I taught teenagers in a really tough London school. A colleague taught me a brilliant trick to get a kid to calm down when they were angry. Look them calmly in the eye and say, what do you want to happen next? Most of the time they were so caught up in emotion they hadn't thought about the consequences of thidkery. As soon as you prod them to think about consequences, most of them would calm down straight away. Darren Brown has a trick similar to this. He's also a dab hand at disarming a potential mugger using nothing but words. Outlining his irrational behavior strategy in the metro today, Brown recalled an incident when he was approached by a suspicious character spoiling for a fight on his way home. At 3 AM in the morning, I said to him, the wall outside my house isn't 4 feet high, and he was suddenly confused. The idea of the psychological tactic, he added, is a bit like pulling the rug out from somebody. Link. I find that when I ask someone if they'd like to be a rewards member, they're more civil with me if I say, would you like to be a rewards member or no? I figure that by saying no at the end I'm insinuating that is completely fine to say no, I don't want to be. I use this on everyone. I've had customers that I see get short with other cashiers when they ask them this. I then ask them my way whenever I'm cashiering, and they are completely civil about it. I almost always get from these same people, no thanks, not today. I guess some people view this questions as nuisance because in their mind they feel like they are asked this every time at a lot of stores. Stop talking. If you want to get more information out of someone, just let them speak. There are times in a conversation that things stop. Most people want to fill this themselves, but don't let the other person do it. This is especially useful if you think the person and their story is full of shit. As a former salesperson, I actually started using this technique in both selling and buying situations. You'd be shocked how many people will sit and talk themselves into buying something. Or on the flip side, how many salespeople will start negotiating with themselves if you just stay quiet. I got a pretty good deal on my last car without saying a word. This reminds me of that scene in 30 Rock, where Jack negotiates a higher price for the network by just casually eating an orange during the meeting. Working as a waitress, if I noticed a customer was getting particularly impatient and it looked like they were going to be rude to me when I went over, when I would take the food over, and before they got the chance to speak I'd say something like, so sorry for the wait. Thanks for being so lovely about it. It seemed to catch them off guard and paint them as a nice guy in my eyes, and more often than not their expression would change from pissed off to surprised. Then they'd say something like, oh no problem, it's okay, so they could keep being the nice guy and feel good about themselves, and I avoid chewing out. I was trained to never apologize for something you can thank them for. Thanks for waiting. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for clarifying, etc. It keeps the conversation positive and doesn't undermine their confidence in you. My first workplace trick that I still use regularly: people will procrastinate with their own work, but drop everything to quickly correct someone else's work. Example: Bill needs to provide a paragraph of text to go in your company's brochure. He's been dragging his feet forever, and it's the last thing you're waiting on. but he keeps putting it off. Go to where his paragraph should be and write a shitty version of what he's supposed to do. Don't invest more than 10 seconds. We do widget services. We are good at it. Our services are good for your widget needs. Send it to Bill saying, hey, I filled in the last paragraph about widget services, can you check and make sure it meets your criteria? And I'll send it along to the boss for approval. You'll have Bill's polished, fully composed text in about 10 minutes. This is very true and super annoying to receive, lol. When you need something from someone, ask them for help with it. Rather than, hey, can you do this for me? Say, hey, can you help me with this? People are more inclined to be helpful than to just take on the task for you. People are more likely to believe something you tell them if it's self-depreciating. You can make up some sort of lie, but if you add something negative about yourself in it, it sounds more believable. Oddly enough, this is what makes good writing. People are flawed. A character you dislike, but is dynamic, is a more enjoyable character than a pleasant one who rarely makes mistakes. Is a more enjoyable character than a pleasant one who rarely makes mistakes. Say it louder for the sequel directors in the back. You can give a person talking on their phone an object and they will most likely take it because they are focused on the call. I regularly hand people empty plates. Most of the time they just keep talking and don't notice what I'm doing. Not even just on the phone. Anytime you are talking with someone face to face, you can hand them anything and they'll take it without deciding whether or not they want to. I do this all the time with trash, just to mess with my friends, and so. Silence is a conversational interrogation tool. People will rush to fill the void. Door in the face technique. Read more here link. Basically, someone who would have said no to a certain request if you asked it initially is more likely to say yes to that request if you first ask for something so big that you know they'll say no, and then the thing you actually want seems reasonable by comparison when you ask it afterward. Offer to buy the farm. The ox will be for sale. Whenever my toddler refuses to do something, I start doing it. Then they get all angry cause they wanna do it. Idiots. Edit. Wow. So many great comments. And thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Edit 2 now silver. I'm glad so many of us agree that kids are idiots. I tell mine that I'm giving her a choice between two things. The catch is that both of the choices are things that I want to have happen. Example, toddler won't nap. I say, would you like to have some juice and then take your nap? Or would you like to take a nap without any juice? Those are obviously the same two things. But one has juice, and suddenly the nap becomes more appealing. Another helpful one is to move the goalposts. Instead of it's time for a nap, you can try I'll only read 3 Little Pigs for nap time today, and let them argue about wanting Red Riding Hood, while nap time then becomes a given. It's a lifesaver getting out the door in the morning. Kid is throwing a tantrum about not wanting to wear the outfit you chose, so instead of discussing the outfit, you talk about what cereal you have for breakfast, and their little contrary brain shifts the tantrum to breakfast choices and forgets they were meant to be arguing about their outfit. It's time for breakfast and you can start talking about which jacket to wear and erect the toddler tantrum onto that. Eventually their little brain gets distracted and forgets they are meant to be disagreeing with everything you suggest. Kid demanding something at the store. Ask who will be the one to select pasta off the shelf. Who will unload the cart on the conveyor belt? Who will unlock the car? And so forth, just shifting everything up a step. Don't judge, but this technique seriously saved my sanity. The technical term is redirection. Used all the time in certain areas of nursing. Minimizing. If you feel like something is a really big chore or you just can't get yourself to get up and go do something, minimize it to a small insignificant part. Instead of doing all the garden work, say you're just going to take the tools out so when you want to work you can. 90% of the time once you're up and doing the small thing, the big bad chore doesn't seem so bad now and you end up doing it. Smile as soon as you first see people you want to like you as you greet them. Like, hey buddy, how you doing? And look genuinely happy to see them. Don't matter whether it's girls, guys, young, old. It'll make them excited to see you. Like every time I don't get it, but there's psychology to it and it actually changed my life. The Wally Reflector link. Thanks to Dilbert Man Scott Adams. I learned the Wally Reflector at a young age. It's very simple. If someone tries to pawn their work off on you, ask them to do something for you first related to said task. 9 times out of 10 they'll leave and try to find someone else. Hey, can you finish this report for me? I'm going on vacation and want to leave a little early to beat traffic to the airport. Sure, I'd love to help, but could you possibly send me a quick email with a bullet point list of what needs to be in the report, just so I don't miss anything? On second thought. At a garage sale my father wanted 5 for a desk. It sat all day. Eventually he wrote 10 and 20 above the 5 and crossed them out, making it look like he dropped the price twice. It was gone in under 30 minutes. If you want to be involved in any work environment or feel like an insider during work, you gotta greet everyone you meet right away. If you missed them, turn around, go back, and say something like, "Sorry, I didn't catch your name. I am." If you don't have time, then take the next chance. Even if it's just a hi or a wave, people will see you as assertive and approachable. It doesn't really matter if you're introverted and don't speak to them for the rest of the day or whatever. It kills most of the awkwardness associated with being social with people you may or may not know. Plus, it sets you up for healthy teamwork. If someone insults you, either own it or pretend you don't understand. They can't get you on something you admit to, and if they have to explain it, it loses all its impact. Whatever you're scared of doing is only going to last 2 seconds. Then you'll blink and it will be months later and you'll wonder why you were even worried. I figured this out in 8th grade before a presentation I was terrified of giving. And I think of that moment every time I'm nervous to do something, and now I'm 28. Time flies. No point of worrying about it. By walking with your head and eyes forward, like you're deliberately going somewhere, people will move out of your way. I first tried this in a crowded mall when I was 14 and was blown away. I felt so powerful at 14, lol. Kill him with kindness. Woo lad, nothing eats away at your enemies like that. Short, sweet, simple, and confident does the trick. You could get into a massive argument for hours. Fight, cuss, spit, punch, kick. Nothing will really burn them at the core quite as much as being nice to them. I believe it is a psychological trick because they usually don't expect it. They know you're enemies, and it throws them into a loop and off guard. I bumped into my old boss recently. He had absolutely royally screwed me over before I quit. Stabbed me square in the back to protect his own hide. I gave him this huge smile, said, "Hey name, good to see you." He gave a weird frown and returned, "Hi. How have you been?" "Better than ever. How about you?" Fine." He made an obvious effort to keep walking and avoid a conversation. I bumped into him again before I left the place we were at and gave him a nod, nice smile, and the 3-finger wave, sort of like a salute. His face said it all. I hate that guy. Why is he happy? Note: I want to clarify that this isn't effective in all scenarios, and going out of your way to rub false kindness into someone's face negates it altogether. To avoid Canadian standoffs when you and another person are walking towards each other in a hallway, square up your shoulders and tilt your head in the direction you plan on going. The other person will move out of the way 9 times out of 10. If you find yourself overthinking, stare at a fixated point. To fetch memories, your eyes need to move. So if you're staring at a singular point, it's very difficult to overthink. If you want people to like you, ask them for small favors they can easily do for you. Everyone likes to feel useful, even if they don't realize it. I think this is why I've always heard that if you're in a meeting or interview and offered water or something, always say yes. On the flip side, if they get you to say yes for a thing, you are more likely to say yes to the next. Good to keep in mind in case you're in a situation when the opposing party gets something out of softening you up. Don't know what to say, but want to keep the conversation going. Repeat the last phrase of the last thing the person said as a question. For example, as a question. Yes, as a question. Raise your voice so it's clear that you want them to go on. Go on. Give young kids the illusion they are making a decision to do something that you really want them to do. Kid won't eat their carrots and wants dessert now. You say to them, do you want to eat your carrots first and then dessert? Or would you like to save your dessert for tomorrow and eat your carrots now? My 3-year-old never falls for these kinds of tricks. She just comes up with her own option, lol. Tell someone to quickly pick a number between 1, 10. The number 7 is picked an overwhelming amount of the time. I don't know why. When you're having a serious conversation with someone, fix your gaze directly at the outside corner of one of their eyes. It makes it seem like you're looking right into their soul. Whenever I'm feeling nervous or anxious about something, I just tell myself how excited I'm to do it and trick myself into actually calming down. Works well for presentations. Cunningham's law. The best way to get an answer on the internet is to post the question with a misspelling. Anal people will be drawn to correct and mock you, and one will invariably have the answer you're looking for.